All right. Last thing we talked about was cilia and flagella.
Yeah. Moving on to cytoskeleton. Yeah.
And we already talked about lysosomes too. I'm waiting for you to be quiet so we can get started. All right. So, cytoskeleton. It is the framework of support. It is made out of several things. First is microtubules. Yes, sir.
Are we learning about the little straw-like thingies in there?
Yes, that's what this is.
No, not these. Oh, not cytoskeleton.
What's straw-like thingies? Is it in the cell structure then?
Yes.
Show me which one.
Centrioles.
I don't think so. I don't think centrioles we're going to talk about.
Talked about it.
Right.
I watched it.
Good. It's a good video. I don't think we're going to talk about that at all. We'll see. The only ones you're required for are the stuff that we do in class. That we talk about in class.
Just so much because all the stuff with all the proteins and all that stuff, it's kind of like confusing. So I'm gonna make note cards.
Good. Good. Find some way to study it. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Those of you who are having trouble learning this stuff from listening to lectures and studying the stuff, try to find, there are games online that will challenge you try to challenge you to see if you know the material. So try to find some, like organelle games of some kind, or cell structure games. You might search for both of those on the internet and see what you can find. That will be one way of practicing it. Another way of practicing is to make note cards and study those. I just need you to do something so you're prepared. There's a lot of words that you've never seen before. It's like learning a new language because it is a new language. It's one you've never worked with before. So practice the vocabulary, know what words mean, and how to relate them to your life now and what they're related to in your life now. So microtubules are thin hollow cylinders. They're made of protein. Another type of cytoskeleton, part of the lattice, the framework that kind of organizes the cell and allows things to move in the cell, is microfilaments. These are small solid protein fibers. So microtubules are much larger. They're tubes that are built out of a bunch of proteins kind of wrapped around the outside edge. So it's a bunch of proteins around that make a tube, kind of like a hose. A microfilament, though, is you take just a strand of single proteins that are attached together. That strand is a microfilament. Filaments are much smaller. Tubules are much larger. Yes?
Are these all around the entire cell?
Throughout, yeah, there's probably some organization to them, but I don't know what the organization is at the moment. I'd have to look it up.
What does it
Looks like a lattice network.
like in the cell?
What's the picture? What does it look like in the picture?
Yeah.
We're getting there in a second. Give me a second. Centrioles are a pair of microtubules. So microtubules are these thin hollow cylinders. A centriole is made out of a pair of microtubules. Okay? It's important for cell division. We'll talk about what it does more in cell division later on when we get to meiosis and mitosis in the cell cycle. Carly, you had a question?
Wait. Okay. So, you recording this for Nathan?
Yes.
Do microfilaments make
Microfilaments are the building blocks that we use to build centrioles. Microfilaments, you could say, let's see. So the way I look at this is like having freeways and city streets. Freeways are like the microtubules. Okay? The city streets are like the microfilaments. They allow for much more small localized control of the position of things, whereas the microtubules are used to carry things long distances. Yes?
Are you talking about the highways and cell?
Yes, pretty much. That's what these are for. They're they're basically the highways of the cell. These are the things that organelles move along as they're moving through the cell. Right, exactly. And so the framework in this case includes they have both the purpose of being the thing that objects move along, So in the case, let's do an example. On the freeway, is the freeway the thing that is moving the cars? No, the cars are being moved by some other force, right? And it's similar in this case. The filaments and tubules are not the thing that is specifically doing the moving. I don't think, I'd have to look that up. But they are the kind of the pathways. They also provide a structure for the cell, kind of organize the things inside as well as kind of determine what the size and shape of the cell is.
So they're throughout the entire cell.
Correct. They're throughout the entire cytoplasm.
What is the cell wall?
The cell wall is actually so the cell wall allows us to have trees that stand up on their own. One of the reasons that so our bodies don't have cell walls, right? But why can we stand up straight? Bones and muscles, right? We have bones which produce a framework for us that the muscles then kind of control. And so we have a skeleton in our body that supports our whole body. Within a specific cell, it has a skeleton of its own. It's called a cytoskeleton. It's built out of microtubules and microfilaments. They are not strong enough to support large masses. All it can support is the stuff within the cell. And so the cell wall is required in situations such as trees or plants, where they need to be able to support themselves just with the cells without having a skeleton. And so these are for kind of management within the cell, but they're not strong enough to be able to support an entire organism.
Okay. So then, the centriole looks like
Yes. So they are localized, but the microfilaments and microtubules go throughout the rest of the thing. And they all kind of branch out from the centriole, actually. So the centriole is kind of the hub. So this is like, you've been to those places where a bunch of freeways come in, and they've got all these, they go up and over each other. And I know there's one around here someplace, but I don't remember where. There's probably one in Sacramento. But if say some location where all the roads cross, that would be like the centriole. It's where a bunch of microtubules and microfilaments cross. It is actually built out of a pair of microtubules. Okay? And then it has all of these paths that go off from it. Okay? Any other questions about this? Here's a picture. Here's centriole. It's this star-shaped thing. Asterisk-shaped thing. So that was the one you were talking about. I didn't know it was in here. Centrioles are localized, I think. There may be a couple, but they're small. They're very small in number. They're probably under 5. I think there's only one, but I'm not sure. I'd have to look that up before I say. Carly.
They're not folded, right?
They are not a folded membrane that I'm aware of. All right, so centrioles are like these star-shaped things. The depiction in here of the microfilaments is up here. There are these little red lines that they have drawn in. They're tiny. And then the ones that they have drawn in here for the microtubules is this much larger red line. Yes. They have both microfilaments and microtubules.
Is this in both plant and animal cells?
Yes. Yep.
And they're in humans too, right?
Yes. Correct. So those are the 2 ones, and here's the centriole, right? Let's talk about those 3. All right. Let's see here. Now, when you talk about vacuoles, the vacuole here is this big open space, somewhat open space. It's used for temporary storage of materials, examples being food, enzymes, and waste. These are much. These are usually surrounded by a membrane. So there's actually a membrane that's along this edge. They're a separate organelle. They're not just an empty space. They are a membrane that contains stuff, but it contains a different thing than the rest of the cytoplasm.
What are the cookies?
These cookies?
No, those. You were hot right there.
These cookies.
Yes, those cookies.
Those are holes in the cell wall.
Why is there two cell walls?
There are not two cell walls. This is the cell wall. That so this one here is the cell wall. Oh. Well, that actually could be. This could be a cell wall as well. That's okay. There's no problem. They can have multiple cell walls. Oh, yeah, you're right. Andy, you're right. Yeah. So the cell wall of this cell here is here. Okay. This piece here is the cell wall of the other cell next to it. This is also of the next one over. This was the next one over. This was the next one over. So this one is another cell over here. There's another cell here. Let me erase some of the. Oops. Yes, Darcy? It's not important to me. It's not important to me. It may be a typo. I don't actually know the answer to that one. But the vacuole, in any case, okay, is most important in plant cells. It's often a very large organelle in plant cells. In animal cells, it's not always present, but if it is present, it's small and numerous. And so they're small and kind of scattered throughout, and a bunch of them. Samantha, you with us? Samantha, wake up. Thank you. So far, all of these have been in animals and plants. Yeah.
The chloroplast.
Chloroplasts we're getting to. That's the next one. So these cell walls do have these junctions, these areas that are kind of punched through where one cell will interact with the next cell. So they'll transport stuff through these holes. In this diagram, you'll notice that the plasma membrane is this salmonish thing that's here. Yeah, it's probably white. It looks salmon on my screen. Peachy, whatever. And so that's the plasma membrane. It's inside of the cell wall. Yeah. Oh, turgor pressure. So that's how you spell it, turgor pressure. Turgor pressure is a type of pressure. We have air pressure, right? We have water pressure. We have, what other things can we have pressure of? No, that's not a type of pressure. It's a description of pressure. Anyway, we have air pressure, right? And air pressure means what? Right, it's the amount the air is pushing on the object, whatever the object is, or the wall, or something we're talking about. That part, okay? If we talk about water pressure, we're talking about how hard the water is pushing. Turgor pressure is pressure of water in plants. This is water pressure. No. I want to say specifically in a cell, put it that way. It can be in plants or animals. So it's water pressure in a cell. It is how much the water is pushing on the insides of the cell, and it's basically the name we have for it. Turgor is just the name we picked up for it.
Is that why when you rip the leaf, it's all
Not necessarily. It depends. There are some wheat leaves that contain water, others that don't contain nearly as much. This is more related. This is more related to plant leaves I showed you in lab last week when some of you were here, where we had our, yeah. Yes, sir?
What's the blue besides the vacuole?
Cytosol. Cytosol. It says cytoplasm here, but it should be cytosol. Yep. Now, turgor pressure. Those things. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Yep. So turgor pressure is associated with the cells that we saw where before the plasma membrane was all around the outside, and we had our chloroplast kind of around the outside edge in lab. And then after we put it in the salt water, we had it bunched up in there. This cell, the one where it was bunched up in the middle, had less, sorry, let me write this differently, less turgor pressure. Anyway, because vacuoles are not, you can't see vacuoles in plant cells, animal cells usually. That's why. All right, so because it had less water, the water was not pushing as hard on the inside of the cell. What? There was less water. Because it went out into the salty water. Chloroplasts. Tell me what? Yes. All right, chloroplasts belong to groups of plants, organelles called plastids. Plastids are a type of organelle. Okay, they store food or pigment. Store food or pigment.
They're the only things that are green.
In this case, here's a chloroplast structure. How much of this do I? Let's see here. I'm working on that. Hold on. Let me figure out what I want you to know from this one. Let's continue with the slide, and then I'll figure that out as we're going along. It captures light and converts it to chemical energy. It takes light energy and converts it into chemical energy. What's the chemical energy take the form of usually? Right. What kind of chemicals? Which biomolecule? Carbohydrates. Usually, because this is what it also makes, that's usually what it makes. It also makes proteins and various other things, but carbohydrates are usually what it makes. So let's cross proteins off. Let's just stick with carbohydrates. And this is, so plants take light energy and using chlorophyll and the process that we'll talk about eventually in photosynthesis, it converts that light into chemical energy. Now, chlorophyll, that's in the way. Chlorophyll is light trapping chemical. So chlorophyll takes light and traps it. It also makes the plants green. So it's the thing that is the green on a plant. What? Chlorophyll. And chlorophyll is in a chloroplast, so by extension, a chloroplast is green. Correct. Chlorophyll is in chloroplast. It has a double membrane, so this is once again another one. Well, this is a double membrane, not the other kind. Not a folded membrane. It's a double membrane. Yes.
Okay. What is the plastid?
They are a type of organelle. They're a plant organelle specifically. They're plant organelles that store food and contain pigment.
Okay, so chloroplast is a plastic.
Correct.
So then which one? Are there more?
There are more, but I don't know the names of them.
Okay, and so they're not important.
Correct.
We just need to know that plastids is just like plastids and chloroplast. And in chloroplast there is a double membrane, and in the double membrane there is a chloroplast.
Yes, and I want to talk about a couple of things, the structures of the chloroplast here in a moment. So, we're going to talk about, let's just stick with this. This is all I need you to know right now. We'll talk about the details of the chloroplast when we get to photosynthesis. So, you don't really need to focus on that diagram much. But primarily focus on the stuff that's listed here. All right. That's into our blank. Oh, keep them. Discard, keep. Sure. All right. So that's that piece. Now, to review for the test, here's what I would like to do. Oh.
That's an article.
All right, so we're going to talk about comparing plant animal cells as well as comparing prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. Okay, this is page 186 and 187 in your textbook. Now, let's go through this real quick together. I'm going to use this page because... Right. So cilia, how common are, if you have cilia on a cell, how many of them are there? If there are cilia on a cell, how many do you have? Yes, many. If you have flagella, there are a few. So therefore, these appear to be flagella. A small number. It could be more than two, sure. All right, so this is animal versus plants. I want you to be able to look at your textbook. So, interesting. Oh, discard.
You should have like a white paper.
Yep, I got one. All right. Each baby, get it right. All right.
I didn't know you got a kid, Mr. Trott.
All right. So, free algebra student been playing with my computer again. Need to stop doing that. Animal versus plant. Yeah, I did. All right, animal versus plant. If you look at the diagrams on page 186, you'll see that they both have mitochondria. They both have cytoplasm, or cytosol. They both have endoplasmic reticulum. What's different between these two? Right, which one does not have a cell wall? Animal. And which one does not have chlorophyll? Animal, right. Which one has chloroplasts? Plant. Good, that's one of the differences. So those two are different. They both have a cytoskeleton. They both have a plasma membrane. They both have vacuoles, if you can see them.
It didn't label vacuoles.
Yeah, and vacuoles are the ones that are not very common in animal cells. So that would also be one that I would list as kind of a difference. So I would say, let's see here, cell wall in plant.
I thought we did this last time.
You did. I'm just reviewing it. That's what review for the test means, generally. Sorry. Feelings. So the other part is chloroplasts in plant. Notice I'm looking for, if I'm talking about an organelle specifically, I'm talking about the chloroplast. The chlorophyll is in the chloroplast, but is not the organelle. The organelle is actually called the chloroplast. The other one is the vacuole is bigger in the plant. All right, so that's animals versus plant cells. Any questions about that? Yes. No. Yes, Darcy. Sure. You'll probably have something like these diagrams. Actually, I think I will give you the diagrams that are on this page. Yes, I'll probably give you both of them. You need to be responsible for both of them, yes. Yep. See, free ribosome is that little dot. Because they are not attached to the endoplasmic reticulum. So they're free, they kind of float around. There's a difference. Yes, Darcy. You do need to know those as well. So learn the stuff that's in the handouts, and you'll be fine. Yes. Don't cry, but you'll be fine. All right. I know, I could cry too, but it's not going to help us at all. All right, let's move. Let's keep moving. Let's look at table 7.1 on page 187. Page 187. Right. You're responsible for the stuff. So this, I'll tell you what's on the test. The stuff that you're responsible for is the stuff that we had on your note cards, the trading cards that you made, whatever those were. You need to know all the information that's on there. You need to be able to answer questions, be able to know the stuff that's on the presentations I've given, both on 8.1 and 8.2. So that's plasma membrane and organelles. Okay, both of those. Was it 7? Sorry, 7.1, 7.2. 7.3 as well. And you're also responsible for the discovery of cell stuff at the beginning of the chapter. You need to know, write this down, you need to know what the people did.
And who they were.
What they did, what their contribution was to microscopy. So if I say Van Leeuwenhoek, what did he do? He made a microscope.
Okay.
If I say Schwann, what did he contribute?
But we don't need to, like, you won't ask us what were the people, who were the people and what did they do? Like,
No, I will not ask that kind of thing. I will give you one of the pieces and expect you to know the other. Okay? In chapter 2, in section 2, plasma membrane, we talked about that at length. You need to know what it's built out of, how the fluid mosaic model works, what phospholipids are. We talked about it yesterday. Yes, that's how it works. Oh, why is not terribly important to me. I want you to know the stuff we've covered is what I want you to know. The questions on the test are things from what we have covered. Yes. All right. Hold on. I want to go over page 187 real quick, and then I'll field your question. So page 187 talks about prokaryotic versus eukaryotic. Okay. Prokaryotic versus eukaryotic. Right. And I'm going to explain this. Right, eukaryotic versus prokaryotic. Most of what we know is eukaryotic because that's what we care about, because that's us. And so that's the one you need to know the most about, but you need to know the difference between the two. We look at the list on page 187. It says cell part, the function. Oh, hint, there's a function. Read through those. That will help you clarify what you think about the functions of these different cell parts. And then it's prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell. It says whether they're present or not. So, the prokaryotic cells are different from eukaryotic cells in what ways?
Well, I thought the difference, they don't have membranes. Membrane-bound organelles.
Correct. They do not have membrane-bound organelles. So their organelles are not surrounded by a membrane.
Okay, so they do have membranes themselves.
They have a cell membrane. There's one around the outside, but there aren't membranes within their within them around organelles. And so notice they don't have a cell wall. They do have ribosomes, and they do have plasma membrane. Go for it. They do not have any of the others because they all require membranes. Vacuoles, nucleus, mitochondria, lysosomes, Golgi apparatus, endoplasmic reticulum, cytoskeleton, chloroplast, they all require membranes, and so therefore they're not present in a prokaryotic cell. Now, let's look at a picture of one of these. Go back to...
Are we going to have to learn about DNA, X and Y chromosomes?
Eventually, but not this chapter.
Oh.
All right, let's look at page 174. Page 174. We have a picture here of prokaryotic and eukaryotic. Isaac, you have a textbook open? Share with somebody. Aiden, you have a textbook? Okay, good. Textbooks. Samantha, you get a textbook open? Page 174. Good. There's a big size difference. Prokaryotics are generally a lot smaller than eukaryotic cells.
What's the difference? One have endoplasmic reticulum?
Right, and so if you look at the list on page 187, half of it is multiple choice. Short answer. There's no matching. I don't like matching.
Mr. Do you encourage me to put a magnet up to my TV screen?
Not related to biology. Let's keep going. I don't like multiple choice, but it's because it's essentially a. I don't like matching because it's essentially a game of multiple guessing. Oh, that's harsh. That is harsh. Okay, page 174. Hold on. Let's talk about prokaryotic versus eukaryotic real quick. Notice, prokaryotic is the one at the top. It's the oval. Reese, you with us? Okay. Notice there are no organelles inside. There's ribosomes. There's DNA, but the DNA is not in a membrane. It's just kind of floating in there.
Prokaryotes are bacteria.
Bacteria are a common one, yes. There are also some single-celled organisms. So there's some organisms that are not bacteria that are prokaryotic. We'll talk about them when we get to them later in the year. Yes, Darcy. The nucleus is an organelle. Nucleolus is an organelle. Why is which graph? It tells you where the chromosomes are, so you know where they are. It's not telling you that that's an organelle. Because they're not membrane bound. So chromosome is not actually an organelle. Annalise.
Are prokaryotic any kind of bacteria?
No, there are other kinds too, but bacteria is one of the most common examples. Any other questions about this that I can help clarify? Right, Darcy. Yes. An example of location. Was it in a plant or an animal or both? Yes. Was it in a plant, an animal, or both?
I did not understand.
That's why they had in that parentheses next to it.
Yeah, well, I didn't get that.
Sorry. Everybody asked about that in class, so that's all that means. Is it in a plant or animal or both? You'll be turning them into the test. That's okay. So, not during the test.
I told you. I emailed them to your class.
You want a copy? I can print you a copy. Black and white. I'm going to print a color one off the computer. So, yes. Yeah. No, the way. Oh, the one on. You don't have to take a screenshot. I just want you to practice it. Yeah. Because I want you to memorize it. That's why. That's okay. You can forget it as much as you'd like. However, I want you to memorize it. Yes, Andy. Yes. Right. Because here's why. You'll be able to explain it to me. So. Okay. So the what is it in the school? The question there is, I want you to relate it to something real in your life that has the same function. I know. Yes. So, what in your life so what does the Golgi apparatus do? Where's your, look it up. It ships stuff. It packages things and ships stuff. So what in your life does that? The post office. So, that's the kind of thing I'm looking for. Now, let's talk about, say, the ribosome. What in your life, what is the function of a ribosome? Makes protein.
That's all I know. And so
it makes protein. What in your life is similar to something that makes things? Other than ribosome. What's some example in your life of something that makes things? A factory. So a factory, or a printer. I used to say a printer too. I mean, in my case, a printer would be a great example. One.
Are those going to be multiple choice?
No, those are short answers. So you can explain.
Wait, so are we going to have to do that for every single one?
No. There's one question that requires however, you need to know all because you don't know which one to ask.
That's crazy. I thought it was one.
So if you know the function, if I ask you, so what in your life acts like a waste disposal? A trash can. So you can put trash can. If you know what if something that if you know the function, you can figure out something in your life that doesn't. That's the easy part. You need to know the function. That's the part you need to know. Okay? Figure it out, study it out, and I'll see you tomorrow for that.
Will we be able to get a house?
We will making this, normalizing this. It might be getting out of one fact, it might be something else.
Can we be taken?
You respond? And then space on the test. I am going to subjects that we talked about in the lecture. Of making it work out. Don't worry, I will make this test. Thursday. You may hear this. I will make this test so it's actually the amount you know, and that you can actually continue showing to lose. I haven't figured out exactly how to find a way for this to not be destructive.
Okay. I'm almost done with this. Okay. So, okay. Water or baby? Because the salt makes it shrivel up.
Shrink like the wall into a much larger.
Like the root bottle.
How the shape of the salt.
Oh, what was the effect on the shape?
It changes.
I just
Yeah. Right. That's what I'm looking for. And